Right. So now we're going to look at calculating our mean. Our calculated mean is also, again, our arithmetic mean or our average. And what we're going to use to represent our mean is x with a little bar over it. And we're actually going to call it x bar as we're going through and talking about this value. So our mean, our x bar value, is the sum of all of our variables in the data set divided by the number of observations. Again, just as if we were to find our average of our test scores, right? We would add up all of our test scores and then divide it by the number of tests that we took. Right? So looking at our notation, notation is going to be key as we go through different things this semester. Right? So again, x bar represents our mean. This weird looking symbol is actually a Greek letter for sigma, which means summation. So in this formula, that means we're going to sum or add all of our individual data points, so all of our individual x's, and then we're going to divide up by our sample size. Right? So underneath here are the instructions to find our mean using StatCrunch. Again, I will provide separate resources that will give you an idea of how to do this, but the steps are listed below here. So if we want to do this using StatCrunch, we're going to sign into my StatCrunch, however we choose to get there. Just like we did in Chapter 2, we're going to enter all of our data values into a single column in the table. So we're also going to have a way to copy data values in our homework sets, which I will also talk about as well. Then we're going to go to the Stat menu up at the top, select Summary Stats, make sure we grab the column of values that we're looking at, and then we're going to simply select the Compute button. So not a lot to do, it's just a matter in using the correct menu up at the top. Again, I will also put some other resources in D2L for us, so that way you will kind of be walked through step by step visually how to calculate these means as well. All right, in this particular case, for this first example, we're just going to walk through this one by hand. Right, so the shoe size of 10 male bowlers in a bowling league playoff game were recorded. And the sizes are listed: 10, 11, 11.5, 9, 12, 13, 10.5, 9.5, 11, and 10.5. Find the mean shoe size of the bowlers. All right, so using our formula, there's a little note here. Our distribution is fairly symmetric if plotted. We're going to sum all of our data values. So we're going to take and add up all of these data values. So 10 plus 11 plus 11.5 plus 9 plus 12 plus 13 plus 10.5 plus 9.5 plus 11 plus 10.5. All right, so we have all of our data values summed in the top. We're just going to plug those into a handy dandy calculator. Again, since we're going to be using StatCrunch to do a lot of these calculations, you don't need anything more sophisticated than a basic calculator for these. When we're finding our mean, it's just going to be a lot of addition and then division. So as graphing calculator will definitely work, but it's not required. Scientific calculator, just a basic calculator. And then we always divide by our sample size. So I'm going to choose to do this in 2 steps. Into my calculator, I'm going to add up all of these values, and that is going to give me 108. We're going to divide it by our sample size, which is 10, and then our answer turns out to be a decimal of 10.8. Right, so our mean shoe size here is 10.8. Right, so we're going to see a lot in this chapter, in the next chapter. Explain what this value means in context. So we're going to see quite often the words in context or interpret. So a lot of times we're going to be finishing our answer by writing some sort of sentence explanation here. Right? So we're going to say the typical, because on the previous page we said that we can use the word mean to represent the typical value. So the typical shoe size of the bowlers in this playoff game was 10.8. Right? So the typical shoe size of the bowlers in this playoff game was 10.8. So again, as we're going through a lot of these problems, just kind of get used to your final answer being in some sort of sentence or some sort of interpretation going along with your final answer.